Hi, it's Dorothy Guinan with Scrapbooking Quebec. In this video, I'm going to show you an easy way to add lots of layering and texture to a layout. I'm going to give you step-by-step instructions for this page, and measurements for photos and page parts will be written on the screen. Now here are the products that I'll be using, and most of them come from Stampin' Up's Come Sail Away suite. I have the paper, dies, stamps, as well as those silver charms. I'm also including cardstock as well as watercolor paper, as well as some twine. Now I did some preparing in advance. I cut some papers and did a bit of die cutting, and I'll only be using one of those two photos. I don't know what size I want to use yet. Now the first thing I'm going to do is prepare a foundation page with a bit of basic mixed media. I'm not very comfortable with this, and here are the products that I gathered together to do that. So I have ink, stencils, stamps, a bit of sprays. Anyway, I'm going to get messy here now. Now again, I'm using watercolor paper, so I didn't treat it, but if you're using regular cardstock, I do recommend that you use gesso on the paper because I am adding a few different things here. Now the first thing I'm doing is adding some Mossy Meadow spray. So basically I had the re-inker bottle. I added a few drops of ink to a bit of water in a spray bottle, and I sprayed it in the bottom right hand corner and in the top left hand corner. I'm doing the same thing with soft suede ink, and what you see me doing is just taking a paper towel roll and absorbing the excess ink off the page, and I add a little bit more of the soft suede. So, and once that's done, I'm going to move it to the side. I'm going to let this dry a bit, and I'm going to get some cheesecloth out. Now, I got that at the dollar store, and I'm cutting off about 6 inches of it. And I'm going to stuff it in that little pot there, and I'm just putting on that spray, and it's a soft suede color. And basically what I'm trying to do is, you know, dirty up this cloth a bit, and I'm going to let that dry while I continue preparing my foundation page. Now that is a stencil. It's I think a retired stencil from Stampin' Up, and I'm adding a bit of that with a sponge brayer using the soft suede ink to the top left hand corner and the bottom right hand corner, and again in those two corners I'm just doing a bit of stamping. Now that's from a retired stamp set from Stampin' Up. It's from kind of Eclectic, I think it's called. But when I was looking through my stamps, the only thing I was looking for was something to add texture, so it doesn't really matter what you put there. Now what I'm doing is adding a border to the right hand side of the page. It's very narrow. It measures about 1/4 of an inch, and as you can see I did a little ripping at the bottom right hand. And now what I'm doing is trimming the page so the entire thing measures 12 by 12. And I also decided to rip a bit from the top left hand corner, and I just backed it with a little scrap of that green paper. Now what I'm going to do is prepare a mini foundation. It's going to be like a layered photo mat for this photo. So I have the 3 pieces there, and I decide to use the larger photo. That one measures 6 by 8. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking 2 of those 3 pieces of paper, and I'm going to run them through my Big Shot, and the die I'm using is from the set. It's called Stitched Labels. It's a set by Stampin' Up, and basically it's just a line of embossing stitching. So I did that on the ends of those 2 pieces of printed paper, the beige one and the green one, to add a bit more texture. Now you don't have to have those dies to do that. You can do stitching, you can rip it, you can ink it, or you can leave it as it is. Now I'm adhering these 3 pieces to the page, and as well I'm placing the photo. Now what you see me getting out there is a piece of, again, watercolor paper, and when I was practicing for this video, I did that on a piece of practice paper, so I'm going to use it to create my decorations. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to create a tag, and that is going to be where I place my journaling. Now the tag punch I'm using is also a new punch by Stampin' Up, by the way. I love it actually. It's the first time I'm using it, but I can tell already that I love it. I can do it in 3 different widths. I did that at the largest at 2 inches, and I can trim it to the length I want, but there's also a width of 1 inch and 1.5 inch. Now what I'm going to do is add some journaling lines to this tag. Now that template you see me using, that stencil, is from Echo Park. I've been using it tons lately. And again, I'm using a sponge brayer with that soft suede ink. And you'll notice on the tag as well, I created a ring around the tag, and that is simply done with a hole punch and a circle punch, adding a bit of string to that, and that is going to go in the bottom right hand corner. So I'm going to adhere my photo at this point, and then I'm going to start working on my embellishment clusters. And then the embellishment clusters are going to go in the bottom right hand corner where I did all of that mixed media, and in the top left hand corner. Now I took that cheesecloth and basically I cut 3/4 of it, which I'll place towards the bottom, and the other quarter towards the top. Now what I'm doing is showing you the other decorations. Now you can see that I did some die cutting and stamping in advance, but right now I'm going to do a bit more stamping and die cutting. And again, I'm just using that watercolor paper just so that I don't waste it. And I am doing the lighthouse as well as that anchor and also the title. I'm going to cut those out with the dies that go with this kit. And you'll notice these stamps, they're really quite realistic. It's like somebody sketched the lighthouse. They're very, very detailed. They're actually quite beautiful. Now I'm going to cut these out. I'm going to do it one at a time because I figured if I did all 3 at once and I'm filming, I was bound to screw it up. So that's why I'm doing it one at a time. But if I were home alone, I'd probably do it all at once. So I'm cutting out those pieces, and those ones I stamped in basic gray. So it's different than the other inks I was using. And the stamping I did beforehand, I did it in the Mossy Meadow as well as the soft suede. So this gives me a 3rd color, albeit very neutral, to play around with. So now what I'm doing is I'm playing around with embellishment clusters. And when I create embellishment clusters, though I like them all to be different, I like to start them with something in common. And in this case, what I'm starting them with, aside from that cheesecloth, are those leaves that I cut out in advance with the die cut machine. Now, I also put in 3 ship wheels, and after that, I'm starting to build up the embellishment clusters. I'm just going around the page with different pieces. So I've got the lighthouse there, I've got the title at the top of the page, I've got the anchor at the top of the tag, and I'm just playing around with a bit. And that was the little charm I put towards the bottom of the tag as well. So now I'm going to adhere everything to the page. I'm more or less happy with it. And what I'm having the most trouble with is that everything is getting caught up in this cheesecloth. I can't say I've ever really worked with cheesecloth on a page before, so this is kind of new to me. And I'm adhering it with mini glue dots because that typically works well with fibers. However, cheesecloth is very see-through, it's very thin, and I don't want the glue to come through it and ruin my page protector. So I'm being strategic where I place the glue so that it is being covered up by other elements like the die cuts that I'm putting on top of it. I'm putting down that tag. I will do my journaling off camera and you will see it at the end of this video. I'm looking at the page here and I'm thinking, my, that looks like an awful lot of decorations, and I don't want the decorations to be more important than the photo. Actually, I really like that photo, and if you read my journaling at the end of this video, you'll know it actually is all about this photo. I just really love this photo. But what I did do, and I start doing it on camera and I do it more after the video, is I start trimming down the cheesecloth. So I put a lot more on at the beginning and then I started cutting it down. It was like giving my page a haircut. But what I did learn was cheesecloth is very easy to cut down. It doesn't look like it's being lobbed off really straight. It still has that messy, imperfect look once you've cut it down. So it actually works quite well. What else can I say about this? I'm almost done here. However, what I can say to get the idea from this page, this was a idea I got from a Stampin' Up convention where a lady who presented this product to us, this product suite to us, in front of a whole bunch of consultants, shared a page she made with us, and she used the cheesecloth on the page, and I thought it was beautiful. This was in early April, and it just kind of stuck in my mind. So I wish I knew her name to thank her, but that's where I got the idea from. So this is my page. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to Scrapbooking Quebec, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.